I mean, he's been recording.
Yeah.
We can include this with it. This is a Sources Say podcast, your go-to Kentucky basketball and recruiting podcast on the growing KSR Podcast Network. Don't need an introduction. The man, the myth, the legend himself, Mark Pope. Just an absolute honor, man. We're so grateful for your time and just this opportunity and the fact that basketball season is here.
What is our goal today?
Winning a People's Choice Award. Is that what we said we were going to do?
Today our goal is to see if we can get on the list for a People's Choice Podcast Award.
And I told him he's in charge of that. So whatever outlandish, crazy stuff that he says,
You know what?
that's on him. So he gets to call his shot with how this goes and whether or not we're an award-winning podcast. So
We're about to win it.
I need your absolute best today, Coach.
Bring it. Come on.
1 week away, Big Blue Madness. The start. You painted your vision the day you rolled in on that bus, and now we are here. You have like any anxiety, nerves, excitement, like just to get this thing finally, the vision behind you, and now you actually get to coach basketball?
Well, there's so many starting points, right? So, I mean, there's been 100 starting points. That's the beautiful thing about starting. And so, but Big Blue Madness is really important. The great thing for our guys is Big Blue Madness is the first time that any of our guys get to walk in a Rupp Arena and feel that place full and actually like be in there and commune with BBN. And that's I'm so excited. I'm so excited for our guys to go experience it. I'm so excited for BBN to kind of be able to like just be in the same building as our guys, and it's going to be super interactive and it's going to be awesome. It's so special. I can still remember when I first got here. I transferred after my sophomore year at the University of Washington, came here, and we had it in a Memorial Coliseum. Of course, we had Tent City around Memorial for like, it seemed like 3 weeks. I think it was only 3 or 4 days, and it was just pandemonium, mayhem. And I'll never forget, it used to be that the weight room and we had a little lounge in our locker room, and they were just glass out into Memorial. And they had these long vertical blinds, and so I'll never forget getting in there and kind of changing to whatever, and then pushing open the blinds. It felt like there were people. There was no seats. It felt like there were literally people hanging off the roof. It was so cool, and I'll never forget it. And so it's a special experience. So I'm excited for our guys to have.
Coach, you're 9-10 practices in at this point. Are you where you want to be, establishing who you are, and then how much did the summer having that help?
It's been amazing how fast our guys have grown. And so after yesterday's practice, I was just like, you know what? Let's take the next month off. We're ready. We're just ready to roll into games. That's not true at all. We have so much work to do, but I'm really proud of the guys. So there's a bunch of things they're doing. One, they're trying to figure out how to love each other, trying to figure out how to care for each other, trying to figure out how to compete for each other first, and then with each other. Is a huge difference. They're two very separate things that are key. The guys learn how to compete for each other, and then they'll be great at competing with each other. So those processes are massively important. They're starting to understand how we want to play. It's hit or miss. We have a little moment we're like, this feels like us, and then a lot of time where it doesn't feel like us yet. That's just the process. What we do have is I will always bet on people, and we have unbelievable people here. Like the guys on this staff, the men and women on this staff, and these players, top to bottom, side to side, are extraordinary human beings. And so we're going fast, and we're really excited.
I remember the first conversation we had with you, that first summer press conference. BBN is obsessed with who's the summer surprise, who's the one guy standing out that maybe not get enough credit that he deserves or whatever. And you said, I don't want surprises. I want them to be the exact player that I recruited them to be and what I saw on film. Do you still agree with that? Is anybody progressing quicker or fitting in maybe a little bit better than you had hoped, or said, man, this dude might be a star that I didn't anticipate? Is your mindset the same as it was in June?
Here's the problem. When we start this, I'm going to end up going through every single guy. I'm going to go through every guy on the roster because everybody's making progress. It's so I talk about this ad nauseum, but I think about a guy like Kobe Bryant. I got to play against Kobe. I got to watch him up close. We were in the same draft class, and he was an incredibly special player. And everybody talks about the Mamba mentality in terms of how tough he was, that he was going to run right through Pau Gasol's chest in the first play of the Olympics, tournament, and all these kind of things, and just how he had this like nature of just being, a guy that was going to, never let you breathe. Yes, and it was going to be hard driving. For me, the most magical part of this all-inclusive Mamba mentality that was him was, I think he was close to one of the most curious players that's ever played the game. He just wanted to figure it out, and he was in a relentless pursuit to get better and figure out and kind of cover every single base, and the bases they had covered, let me rethink them and see if I can do it a little bit better. There's so many anecdotes about him like that, but to do that you have to be super humble. That was a long introduction to my answer, is that I've been really proud of our guys, because we have a bunch of guys that are really humble and that are just dying to learn. They're dying to learn us and our system and how we do it, and they're dying to learn Kentucky, and they're dying to learn each other, and it feels like our guys are in this relentless pursuit to learn as much as they can in all those areas as fast as they can. And because of that, I can go through the whole roster and tell you how guys are growing. Like it's really extraordinary in how they're doing it. So I can give you some examples. Let's talk at the beginning of these two freshmen, Travis Berry and Trent Noah. They came in day one in the summer and were exactly what we expected them to be. Really talented young guys that were spinning around in circles and turning the ball over and missing shots, and had a real issue with C-man and ball, with defensive shell concepts, and were late to be on to catch, and then couldn't catch the move, and their gaps were wrong, and they never were to the bottom, and all the things. Heaven forbid they were ever trying to get to a first pass position, right? And then they just have gotten better and better and better and better every day. And now, not only do they not mess up practice, they're dangerous, right? So in an 8-week period, and then a 4-week period, and then a week and a half banner camp, those guys have grown so much where you're just like, I totally trust those guys to be on the floor. And that's saying something that's really hard to do as a freshman. And I could go through all the guys like that, but that's just two fun local guys.
As a coach, it's important to know who you have, when you have them, and especially in key moments of games. Having gone through 2 years with Jackson Robinson, how much confidence do you have in him early in the season, him being in your system, knowing the system, being able to go to him late in games, but also not lean all the way into that so you can figure some other things out as well? Is there like a balance there that you have to maybe go through?
No, actually no, because Jackson's just wired that way. So we, I'm really proud of Jax. One, Jackson probably would have been a second round draft pick this year. I mean, he would have been right there this year. And he was like, no, I'm coming back because I want to go become the very best player I can possibly be before I make the jump to the league. And he's like, I want to come to Kentucky, man. Who wouldn't, right? Who wouldn't want to do that? And so we started the fall semester. The first weekend we went on a service trip to Eastern Kentucky, and on the last day of the trip, the guys had worked so hard, done unbelievable work. The last morning we had a devotional, and each of the guys kind of took a turn and talked about what they wanted to contribute to this team. Just one thing, one very specific thing that they want to contribute. And I'll never forget Jax, because Jax was great. He's like, hey, what I want to contribute to this team. He listed out a couple things, but he said, I want to be a great translator for this team. And that's where his mind is. He has been with us for 2 years. He's the only guy that I've ever coached on this roster. And so he's like, I know that stuff's coming really fast. There's a lot of new ways to think about the game. He's like, I want to do an unbelievable job translating for this team how we do things and why they work and why we believe in them and why whatever. And in the context of that, Jax is like, he's cold-blooded, man. This dude is never rattled by the moment. Like, he'll make ridiculously big shots in big moments, but he's also always about making the right play. And so he knows the right play shows itself in a lot of different ways. And so that's the beautiful thing about having a vet who's been through hard times and then been through great times, that's by definition that's what a vet is a vet is actually responding to the game, what the game is asking for, more than walking in with a hard set agenda that's not malleable.
In terms of roster construction, obviously this team was kind of built the way it had to, with how late the process started, and the recruiting cycle, you hadn't gotten to kind of lay your foundation yet. How important is, we had Jason Hart on the show, we had Cody Feger on as well. Player retention came up and said those are our top priorities moving forward. Keeping the talent internal and growing within, while also balancing the portal, lack of super seniors this next cycle, with the portal. How are you balancing that going into the next season, and just what is your ideal roster construction if you had it your way every single year?
Yeah, so you have to have segments. So it is massively important that you have some semblance of continuity, especially the way we play. I've said this since the day we're here. We're so much a better team year 2 than we are year 1, because the way we play is so dependent on not learning plays, but learning how to play. And we really hang our hat on that. But you can learn a play in a day. It takes time to learn how to play, and it takes time to learn how to play together. It takes time to learn how to play a pro style, right? Which is not. It's actually way less prevalent in college basketball than you might imagine. And so, when you have a core, I have Jackson Robinson as a translator this year, but when we're really good, we're gonna have 5 or 6 translators every single year. Like, that's really important. And then it's incredibly important that we continue to recruit the best players in the country. What Cal did here in terms of recruiting ready-made NBA guys, that's really important. That's part of the DNA of Kentucky basketball. So it has been, Tubby and Coach P and all through, and Cal was incredibly prolific at recruiting the best players in the country, guys that would come in here, and after a year or two, they would have grown so much and made so much progress that they're ready. In fact, the league is demanding that they go. It would not make sense for them to stay in college. That's a really important part. And then the transfer portal is a really important part. Having some veteran presence on a team that might not know us so well, we know them way better than they know us, because we get to watch 3 or 2 years of college experience and see how they function and how they think. So we get to be very specific about the guys whose skill sets come. We get to see their character in college a little better, but bringing those pieces as veteran contributors is kind of that 3-pronged approach that's super important.
So I'll remember that right after you got hired, the first recruiting event, I saw you at several over the spring, following you around like a lost puppy dog. I remember that first event where you're just kind of laying the groundwork with these kids, saying, top 5, top 10, top 20 kids. What are your thoughts on Kentucky of now with the new administration versus the old?
Yeah.
And Kentucky always will be Kentucky, but the concern and kind of just uncertainty of, I just don't know Pope. I don't know the system. I didn't follow him closely. Yeah. So the uncertainty then versus the traction that you've been able to maintain and continue to grow, especially as of late, not talking specifics, but 2 high-profile commitments thus far, in making final lists, final cuts with the best of the best. Yeah. What has worked? Like, what has been the traction that Kentucky was Kentucky back then, but you're selling the brand now? What has worked for you on the recruiting trail specifically?
Well, Kentucky. So Kentucky #1. Like, this is a different place than anywhere else. I mean, it's just, guys, listen, we're different. It doesn't mean we're going to win a national championship every single year, although that's the expectation. But it's just different. Like, every metric, eyes on, most watched games in college basketball, every facet of BBN, draft picks and NBA players, NCAA tournament wins and NCAA championships. You kind of work through the whole spectrum. Our academic institution, the way it's grown, is it's just really humbling and incredible here. I got to live that myself. And so number one is Kentucky. And BBN gave me the greatest, I've talked about this a lot, but gave me the greatest gift that you could ask for as a first-year head coach at the University of Kentucky, because you always go with every recruit and every family, you have the conversation where you try and describe with anecdotes and words 1,000 different ways why Kentucky is different than anywhere else. And it just is factually different. There's Kentucky, and then there's the Blue Bloods, and then there's the other great programs. All great programs. Kentucky's different. And so on my very first day on the job, we had the press conference. And so now I have this graphic and this video where I can tell these stories, and people are like, yeah, I know, but every coach says this and every coach says that. I'd be like, no. Let me just give you one tiny little example of how this place is different. Let me show you something that's never happened in any sport at any level anywhere before. And this is actually, and it doesn't have anything to do with me. It just has to do with Kentucky. This is a visual of what you experience at Kentucky in every facet of your experience here. And it's been an incredible gift. So that's helped us gain traction, just selling Kentucky, right? And the uniqueness of the horse industry here, the fact that we can pick a player up and go, in the portal season and go straight to Keeneland and just breathe in that, and all the things that define Kentucky, and that you can also feel different parts of the state. So that's number one. Number two, I have an incredible staff. Like, I'm really blessed. I'm incredibly blessed by the staff, and that's real. That's a big deal. And so that sells. And number three is the way we play. We had a chance to go in the Big 12 last year at BYU and leave a lot of people shaking their heads, feeling like, man, it's really hard to guard this pro style. And so the translatability of what we do to the next level in terms of, like, there's very, very minuscule learning curve because of how we approach the game and how we attack the game. And so that's really exciting, and then kind of the whole package is what we're selling. But we got to go, listen, it's not selling. We're actually not selling anything. What we're doing is we're looking for the right fit. And there, this has been said since the beginning of time, Kentucky is not the right fit for everyone, because Kentucky is a one of one. And so you have to find guys that are wired that want to be in a one-of-one situation. Fortunately, there's really good players that want to do that.
And speaking of the way you play, I know you're big on guys keeping dribble alive.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to offensively, we've seen the number of dribble handoffs increasing every year in the game. With so many different ways you can defend the ball screen, I know you implement the dribble handoff a lot with Zoom. You do some gets. Is that a trend that you're seeing in college basketball because of maybe it's more complicated to defend that action?
Yeah, and we're all chasing each other. So, for a long time, ball screens ruled the day, and they still do. They're still a massive part of the game. And then it was kind of stacking ball screens and changing spaces and getting to them off movement and everything else. And now it's like zooms and then stacking sides, with doubles and triples and quads, right? Stacking sides. And all of that is really important. It's just the next iteration of interchanging players with the ball involved. And it puts the defense in all kinds of compromising situations. What you're looking for offensively, it's really fun because you're always battling your defensive acumen and your offensive acumen. And what's frustrating in defense is when the offense puts you in gray area situations, right? Where you have very clear reads and very clear rules and fundamentals for every situation on the court. But you get to all these situations where you're like, well, is it this or is it this? And when did this or this change from action A to action B? Because we guard action A and action B differently because we have to make it work in our system. And so how much time can you spend between action A and action B as an offensive team where you just send doubt and confusion into the defense? And that's essentially what it is, an iteration, a zoom or a double zoom or a triple stack. All of that is leading itself to kind of this space about, like, wait, are we talking about a dribble handoff? Are we talking about a ball screen? Are we talking about like a stagger screen? Or are we talking about a stagger into a handoff or a ball screen? And then you all of a sudden, you're just like, well, we're supposed to guard this way and that this way and that this way. But when they all come together and we're not sure which one is happening right now, it's a fun way to play. It's kind of where the game is pushing right now at every level, as well as all the confusion that you're causing off the ball, and it makes it fun.
Going back to your roots, decades, Rick Pitino, the start of, you know, kind of learning under him as a player, and how much of an influence did he make on, you know, you establishing your philosophy and your identity as a coach? And over the years, how much did you stray, away? You know, what have you taken from him most, and what have you kind of done things your own way as you look to mold your own individual coaching identity?
Yeah, so that's a super complicated question, because what's interesting is coach can coach a way that nobody else in basketball can coach, right? He's just one. He's so tenured. He's been so successful. He wins everywhere. He's just built. Talk about a one of one. He's just built a different way. I'm not Coach P. I never will be. Like, it's just not my DNA. It's not where I am. So that's one thing. But in terms of who I am, it's like a whole lot of Coach Pitino, right? I say all the time that he changed my DNA as a human being. He changed how I walk into a room. He changed how I think about the world. He changed all those things. What's interesting is that here I am finding myself in a different way. Like, Coach came into college basketball right when the three-point line was introduced, and he changed the way the game was played by how he tried to take advantage of that, right? And he was so aggressive and everything. And like, after 100 different iterations, it's like, you know, I'm going back to the really long baggy shorts, which nobody wants to wear. Like, it's almost like we've come around full circle that way, and so that's really interesting. You know what's super interesting is, like, now everybody's in love with the 5-out offense where you have 5 men that are decision makers. It's so interesting because when I was playing for Coach, like, the very second action of almost all of our motion offense, we ended up with our bigs lifted, kind of manipulating the space on the floor. It was very different. It was a very different stylistically. But it ended up, oddly enough, in some time of familiar space, right? And so there's, you know, that's just talking about like basketball strategy stuff that's kind of come around that even I've, you know, it's not where I lived 8 years ago as a head coach, but it's where I'm living right now. And so there's some eerie similarities in that sense. I hope that I've taken absolute fatigueless energy from Coach, because Coach is nonstop and he refuses to stop. He won't. Listen, like, even what he's doing today is insane. And so I hope that I've adopted that, and I hope that I've grown into his. It doesn't matter whether things are going good or bad or sideways or wherever they are. Coach is driving forward, and he's actually the narrator. And I don't do it the same way as Coach, but I hope I have the resilience to be like that, where things are going good, I'm not distracted, I'm driving forward. Things are going bad, I'm not distracted, I'm driving forward, because he gave us a gift as players. He had so much gravity with where he was going with the program that we would hear all the outside stuff, of course, but it was just like you're just trying to keep up, and so you just couldn't live in that space of all the noise outside. I mean, clearly I've thought about him a lot, but I love him, you know, and you're blessed in life to be able to be around people every once in a while, maybe sometimes once in your lifetime, and sometimes sadly never, that can redefine who you are. And certainly Coach B had a part in doing that for me.
When are we going to get to see him again around here? Are we going to get a surprise Big Blue Madness appearance, or is the next time going to be when the ball's tipped next season? I
don't think Coach could show his face here. I mean, he could. Like, people would go nuts. I don't know how it would fit with St. John's if Coach rolled into to Big Blue Madness, although it would be awesome. But there's a chance Coach rolls in here relatively soon, and we'll see.
Ooh, is that how we're going to win our podcast award? You're going to drop some.
If I break
big
that
news?
right, all right, People's Choice. We got 3 minutes left. If you call us, I'll give you the scoop on Coach P.
All right, we got a couple minutes left, so we want to do some rapid fire questions. Put you on the spot on some things that I think you'll enjoy. Got to hurt some feelings. You got to name. I know you have 100 excellent shooters, 100 excellent defenders. You have to name the best shooter on the team and the best defender on the team.
Best shooter, Travis Perry.
Ooh.
You could qualify that 100 different ways. Like, Travis not the best off the move shooter. He's not the best, he's not the best one-on-one shooter. He's not the best in-game shot maker yet. But I've never had a player in the summer come in and make 100 out of 100 free throws 3 days in a row. I've never seen that at any level of basketball. I've never seen it. It's pretty cool.
Defender.
Best defender, Lamont Butler. Now, Amari's going to be so mad at me. We actually had this conversation in practice yesterday because Lamont had three steals, deflections, in ball screens where he sprinted to recover and then challenged to pass out, and got 3 deflections almost in like 5 possessions. And so I called him out. I'm like, Lamont's trying to be the SEC Defensive Player of the Year. And I was like, the only problem we have, Amari, is that your boy is beating you out right now. So Amari got mad about that. And then Ortega's like, what about me? And then Kerr Christen, because of who he's like, nah, I'm going to be the Defensive Player of the Year. So we got a bunch of guys that can do it.
John Rothstein likes to say that we sleep in May. You didn't get to do that, though. Does Mark Pope ever sleep?
Yes. One of the great things about me, if you gave me 10 seconds right now, we could win a People's Choice Award on this. If you gave me 10 seconds,
Win it.
I guarantee you I could fall asleep right now.
On that note, longest day you've spent here at the office from however total many hours, midnight to the following midnight. How many the most hours you spent here?
I've never been here 2 full nights in a row. I have not been in this office 2 full nights.
How many hours of the 24 here?
Well, probably 30. I mean, give or take 36 or 40s. Right.
It's tough.
So, but I mean, that's not regular, and sometimes these are just fires. So, in full confession, you guys came out here yesterday, and we had a little fire going on yesterday. Everything's fine, BBN, we're all good. And so I bailed on that. Like, I feel terrible about that. But sometimes there are sometimes, unfortunately, where the moment is calling for like you to clear a schedule, and so sometimes that happens, all night long. Or sometimes you've just got so backlogged that you got to come bring it.
Favorite recruiting win? You talked about the Horse Park. I remember you bringing Amari, first official visitor on campus. That was a really cool moment. Not in terms of best player, impactful player, but the timeliness, or maybe who you had to beat out to land this kid. Of this last cycle, who was the one where you said, man, that was one we really had to have?
You mean not the current guys, the portal guys?
Poor. If you thought bringing Travis Perry back was huge
Well,
too.
there's a lot of phones. There's a lot of phones. Like, I don't know how legal this is, but like Travis it's signed to NLI here, and so I'm pretty sure it was legal to call him out of the press conference. But Travis had to make a decision about what he was going to do, and after the press conference, he had no choice. Like, I mean, people would have. That was beautiful. We kind of had a fun deal with Lamont Butler.
I really did not like you for doing that, by the way. That really made my life really difficult, but I'm sure it was very rewarding on your side.
But I talked about Kobe Brea's recruiting. Actually, I don't know if I've named him specifically in the story, so maybe I should do that right now. Yeah, but every single one of these guys is super special. Every single one of these guys, it was interesting because our recruiting picture changed so much in about 10 days because we didn't want to go too fast. Like, we wanted to make sure that we started in the right space. Colin Chandler's deals is actually super special to me too, but we wanted to make sure we started in the right space. And so there was a pause before we started getting commitments from guys because we couldn't rush that part. It just had to be right. And then it was kind of like it was pretty quick after that. And so the makeup of our team, literally in 5 days, shifted enormously from guys feeling like, I don't know who would I play with to guys be like, am I going to have a chance to play, right? And so that was actually really fun. And then recently in the fall, I can't name names, but we're trying all kind of different things. I'm a terrible chess player, but I love doing it. And so I do have one intense chess match on the board with a recruit that was for a commitment. We'll see if that actually comes to fruition. So we'll see.
Oh, I like that.
We'll see. Details to come.
Let's get you out of here. Game you're most looking forward to. The season is here. You know, no more painting a picture with the vision and all that. Ball is going to be tipped here. October is here. Game you're most looking forward to on the schedule.
I actually have not seen. We did schedule today, and we have pro day on Monday. That's about as far as I have. And Big Blue Manus, I know. So, and then I can't wait for our first. I can't wait for Blue White. Like Blue White is going to be unbelievable. Like I'm so excited about how we're doing this. I think it's going to be really special. And then I can't wait for our exhibitions and being around. It's just this is just sincerely in my heart. Like the next thing coming up on the calendar is like the best, most competitive, biggest challenge that we've ever faced here at the University of Kentucky. I'm not going to lie to you. Like 30 minutes ago, I was like, okay, like this podcast now, these guys are going to bring it, and this is a lot of pressure, and we got to figure out how to get this People's Choice Award. And so as soon as we finish this, we'll move on to the next thing.
Hey.
I love being in the present, man. I love being the present because our present here in Kentucky is fire. It's actually, why would you not want to be in the present?
I do want to ask you one more question. This was a homecoming for you. It was also a homecoming for Leander Ridgeway.
Yeah.
How cool was that?
Oh, come on. So this is what's cool. I told the story a little bit. So Leander inexplicably came all the way out to BYU to be a GA for me. I didn't know him, didn't know anybody on our staff. We just kind of connected, and I was so impressed. I'm like, you have to come do this. He's like, I'm going to Utah. Like, it's just not what I imagined. He came out and he killed it last year. Now, Leander's dream is to be an NBA coach. And so we get to February, we're having a great year, and Leander's like, Coach, I'm totally focused on the season, but I really would like to make my future in the NBA. And so we started setting up interviews with him, maybe summer internships where we could work. He interviewed with 3 or 4 teams, was getting really good feedback. And then the day I got the job, literally I was with my staff. It was kind of impending. The guys knew, whatever, but it hadn't been announced officially. And I walked back in my office, and 10 seconds later, Leander comes bursting through the door. He's like, forget the NBA. Coach, I want to go to Kentucky. I kid you not, it was exactly that. And then I got here for the press conference. After the press conference, I'm walking around saying hi to people in the stands. I must have had 3 or 4 groups that were like, Leander, you got to bring Leander. It was great. He's going to be a great coach. Like, he is on his way to becoming a great coach. We're really blessed to have him here in Kentucky.
Blessed to have you here, Coach. We got to get you to practice, man. This is an honor. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm sure fans will definitely appreciate this.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Yep. Thank you.
We'd like to thank Mark Pope for joining us today. An absolute blast, absolute pleasure. We are so thankful for him. We are also thankful for our presenting sponsor, Club Blue. Sources Say podcast is, as always, presented by our friends at Club Blue. Club Blue is the official collective partner of the University of Kentucky. Club Blue was founded by UK fans strictly to support the NIL efforts at the University of Kentucky. Unlike most collectives, 100% of subscriber money and 100% of donor money goes directly to NIL. Club Blue charges no fees. Club Blue subscribers receive some amazing benefits like invitations to special events, meet and greets with UK athletes, signed merchandise, monthly giveaways, ticket giveaways, Club Blue merch, and more. Subscribe today at www.clubbluenil.com. You get to pick which sport you want to support when you sign up. Choose your sport and support with Club Blue. Again, thank you to Mark Pope. An absolute blast today. All-time episode. All-time day. Thank you for each and every one of you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next time.